5 o'clock. I will call the Steele County Board of Commissioners July 23rd meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have one addition to the agenda tonight, and that will be, put that down to 16A, a resolution appointing Brian Anderson as the Steele County Assessor.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda with the one addition. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That will take us to our public comment period. Those wishing to speak must state their name and address for the record. After they are acknowledged by the board chair, each person will be limited to 2 minutes to make his or her remarks. Speakers will address all comments to the board as a whole and not one individual commissioner. The board may take action on an item presented during the public comment period unless the item is already on the agenda for action. When appropriate, the board may refer inquiries and items brought up during the public comment period to the county administrator for follow-up. So is there anyone with public comment? Anyone with public comment? Seeing none, we will move on to the, we got correspondence. In your packet, there's a letter from the U.S. Department of Interior on page 4. Over at the, there's a sec. The Bureau of Indian Affairs at Prairie Island, the Indians got, they want to add on to their casino or a new casino over there, and that talks about environmental assessment on that. Another correspondent letters from the Blue Prairie Fire Department. On August 24th from 4 to 7, they're going to have a sweet corn and bratwurst feed at the Blue Prairie Fire Hall. That will take us to our consent agenda. Board's wishes.
Make a motion to include it as with 16A.
I will second that as printed.
Motion's been made to accept the consent agenda as printed. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That'll take us to our general agenda. Number 11. Adopt a resolution delegating the authority of forfeiture powers and duties to Jim Mueller, property tax and election director, until such resolution be rescinded by the board.
So this matter came out of committee. We do have 3 parcels that are facing potential tax forfeiture. Jennifer is working with one of the owners to work out a payment plan, and then we'll have at least 2 others. But she does need delegated authority from the board in order to pursue the forfeiture process. And in your packet is the resolution that we're asking the board to approve, which would give her delegated authority to proceed with the forfeitures, and that delegated authority would remain in effect until such time as the board rescinds or there's some statutory change in that authority.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer the resolution to delegate the authority for the forfeiture properties to Jennifer Mueller. I'll second that.
Resolution's been offered by Commissioner Glenn, seconded by Commissioner Krieger. Any discussion on it? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 12, out-of-state travel, attorney's office. Page 110 of your packet.
Mr. Chair, this did not go to committee as it was kind of last minute request. The drug court does have some money for sending a prosecutor to a training, and so I asked that you approve the out-of-state travel for one of the assistant county attorneys. There should be no budget impact as it's covered by state funds only paying for his time.
Okay, thank you.
Make a motion to approve that. The National Drug Court prosecuting training meeting in Oklahoma.
Yep.
The travel.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Motion by Nemi, second by Krieger, to approve the out-of-state travel for the assistant county engineer to attend the National Drug Court prosecutor training held in Oklahoma city. Any further discussion?
Just the fact that it would be nice to hear a report back
Okay.
on the comments.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 13, appoint 2 commissioners to serve on the canvassing board Friday, August 16th at 11 a.m. for the primary election.
So Chair and members of the board, I'm presenting on behalf of Jennifer. She's conducting the election judge training this evening, but we will be having a primary, and that's August 13th, and then the board needs to convene the Board of Canvass to certify those results, and the canvassing board is scheduled for Friday, August 16th at 11 a.m. We do need 2 commissioners to serve on that, and so I'm looking for an action item and volunteers, I would imagine.
Make a motion, I'll volunteer.
Well, and I think, seeing you guys are gonna have to do it in November, because the 3 of us are on the ballot, well, so you guys will have to do it then. I will volunteer too. So
Okay. And you're volunteering too, Mr. Neary? Okay, so we got 2 volunteers here. So I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to appoint Mary Krieger and Rick Neamy to the canvassing board.
Here's
My only question is, does it have to be at 11 o'clock?
That's gonna be a long day, but one day.
No, I mean, it's a short thing, especially for a primary election. Why can't it be held earlier than the day?
Because they have to have it ready is why, I remember asking that before. It takes some time.
Takes some time to get it all good. Okay, that's fine.
I will pass the question on. Unfortunately, I think a lot of that is set by kind of the state election process and procedures and whatnot, so.
Okay, I'm still waiting for a second on that motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, Nemi. Motion by Glenn, second by Nemi, to appoint Commissioner Krieger and Commissioner Nemi to the canvassing board Friday, August 16th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 14.
Jake's coming in.
Jake, come up and give us your, what information you got there on our resurfacing.
Good evening, Commissioners. So we have plans complete for the parking lot at the administration building and also the courthouse. Basically, the scope of works includes taking out existing pavement, taking out 7 inches of sand base and putting class 5 in. And then curb and gutter, lighting at the courthouse since there's no parking lot lighting there. And then we'll be doing the storm sewer catch basins as well, since we'll have equipment here to get all of those, and they're 30 years old, so. So we'll bid this as one lump sum project, so both projects will, the bid will come in to do both projects. We figure it would be a better price, obviously. We also are gonna do an alternate bid to reconstruct with concrete pavement. So I had a couple contractors say that they think they could be competitive, but with what the engineer's budget shows, I don't know if they will be, so we'll see. It doesn't hurt to put it on the bid form.
Years ago, County Road 45 came in at almost the same price to do concrete.
Yep, so, again, it was our contractor that requested to bid a concrete, so.
Can you, this was in the 2024 budget.
Yes,
Do you remember the dollar amount?
I believe it was $1,050,000
And so
is
that,
what we had for the 2
So-
projects.
The engineer's estimate for bituminous pretty much hits it.
Yep, so we should be pretty close there. So yeah, for the courthouse, the asphalt, the engineer's budget was approximately $240,000, and for the administration building was about $684,000. So, with that, I would like to recommend that we approve the facilities and fleet director to advertise for bids for the Steele County parking lot reconstruction project for the courthouse and administration building upon final completion of the documents.
Mr. Chair, I will move that, and that the alternate concrete bid also is there. Basically, just to see what the difference would be. Right now, the difference is huge.
I'll second that, that's long overdue, as far as I'm concerned, we can, yeah.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Krieger, second by Commissioner Nini, to have Jake, Facilities and Fleet Director, advertise for bids for Steele County parking lot, reconstruction of the courthouse and administrative building parking lot, and come back with final documents to us to look at. Any further discussion on that matter? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
We'll get
Thank
rid
you.
of the swimming pool down here.
Yeah. I'm ready, we're beyond that.
Thank you.
Okay, number 15, Dale, that's your department. Wilkie, rezoning request amendment, listening section, comes on page 423 there.
Oh, yeah, this is
Information.
a request from Randall Wilkie to rezone a parcel in Hope. This is the site of the former Keene Bank, if you're familiar with Hope. So he's purchased that lot, that property, and he wants to make it into a residence. The property now is zoned as a general business, because obviously it was a business. And to make it into a residence, since our ordinance doesn't allow residences in general business zones, you would have to rezone it to residential. And then, other than that, there's the building code, it kind of fits that, so there was much has to do there. But, so the process to rezone is like adopting an ordinance. So we have a hearing, or had a hearing before the planning commission, and they took testimony, and they did, there was no comments at that hearing. And so they did recommend to adopt the resolution to rezone. Because it is a rezone, which is like adopting ordinance, we then bring for this board, basically opening up for a listening session. So that would be the first step, would be to see if there's any further comment as a listening session. And then to close the listening session, and then number 16 was if you agree with the planning commission's recommendation, then to adopt the resolution to change the zoning.
Okay, so with that, I will open the meeting now on this rezoning request for public comment. Is there any public comment on the rezoning request from Mr. Wilkie for rezoning that bank in Hope to a residence?
I think it says before that, is there any email or mail?
I did not get any.
Okay. Going once, going twice. I'll close public comment on that, and there was none. So, any discussion from the board on this matter?
I'll make a motion to close public listening session, the listening session.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to close the public listening session. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Listening session is closed. So, board's wishes?
Mr. Chair, I'll move that I'll move the resolution for the rezoning request number 85, Wilkie.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the zoning request and recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Committee. Any further discussion?
I'd like to ask a question. Yeah, is there, there's other places that have kind of been empty for quite a while now, there's little restaurants and that stuff. Are they just sitting vacant, or is anybody going to make those into
Yeah, to my
residents?
knowledge, there was rumors that one of them was gonna reopen, I don't know if it did, but yeah, to my knowledge, they're still.
Vacant.
Any other questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries. That will take us to number 16.
You actually covered 16.
Oh, that's-
Motion.
Oh, so now,
16.
16A is. You want to handle that, Renee?
Absolutely. So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, as part of your consent agenda and your approval of the personnel report, the board accepted the recommendation of the interview committee to select Brian Anderson as the next county assessor. Every 4 years, the board designates a successor, and so we need to then follow up your hiring decision with a resolution designating Brian as the assessor for the remainder of the 4-year term. So this has actually been the resolution that adopted appointing Bill, and then we had to adopt a new resolution appointing Tom, and now we're coming along. So this will get us through the end of this calendar year, and then in January, as part of your organizational meeting, you would then approve a new resolution designating Brian for the next 4-year term as your county assessor. And so this resolution, along with the oath of office that we will administer to Brian, and a certified copy of the minutes will be going to the State of Minnesota Department of Revenue to then officially add him to their record as the county's official assessor going forward. So the action item for tonight is the adoption of this resolution.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer the resolution to appoint Brian Anderson as the Steele County Assessor to complete a 4-year term for the period July 24th, 24 through December 24.
I'll second that.
Motion by Glenn, second by Mimi, to offer the resolution. Any questions, any comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Resolution carries. Congratulations, Brian.
Thank you.
County board, we have no action items today. Informational items in your packet, you have your Public Safety and Health Committee minutes from July 10th on page 133. Your Public Works Committee minutes from July 11th on page 135. Land Use and Records Committee minutes from July 16th on page 136. No presentations tonight. That'll take us to commissioners' reports. You have anything to add?
Nothing to report tonight.
Okay. Mr. Glenn.
I have a couple, I didn't report last week, so I went to a couple of public safety and health meetings, Board of Appeal and Equalization, the JD 11, a few work sessions, and then Use of Records Committee and Fair Board meeting.
Mr. Krieger.
On the 10th of July, I had assessor interviews. On the 11th, I had Public Works and also South Country Health Alliance Joint Powers Board. On the 15th, we had meeting of the people that were on the assessor interview committee, and I also took our new county administrator to the Rotary Club that day, and it worked out well because our public health director was the speaker that day, so I told her I was bringing the boss. So, on the 16th, we had land use in Min Prairie, and on the 23rd, we had the work session today, and I just want to remind people of the Blooming Prairie Fire Department fundraiser on August 24th. Believe it or not, they had 82 calls last year. And I think these small town fire departments do a lot for everybody, and we need to support them. So, anybody out there in the public, August 24th, Blooming Prairie, 4 to 7 o'clock.
Thank you. Renee, you have anything to add?
A couple of things. I attended the Minnesota Association of County Administrators Conference last Thursday and Friday. There was a fairly involved conversation about mental health services, the EAP type programs. We saw kind of the Cadillac of programs. We saw kind of what a more modest county was able to do. We also heard kind of a case study from Polk County, and just making sure that we understand not only the mental health needs of people, but in that case, the deputy was shot on the job, but it basically incapacitated the entire department, including the sheriff. And so they didn't have sort of a an emergency management person to kind of step in, and so the county administrator was trying to, from point, deal with the news, deal with the mental health of his team, and so I've actually had a preliminary conversation with the sheriff on making sure that our plans include kind of that worst-case scenario and what's going to happen. I also mentioned that one of the sessions talked about budgeting and best practices, and I literally called Candy in the car from the way home. I think we're doing a lot of really good things, but here's something that I think the board really needs to implement, which is this idea of when we're cutting, instead of just saying it needs to be a percentage, we want to make sure that we're tying it back to the essential functions of that office or the essential functions of that department to make sure that they're at least meeting the minimums that the county is required to do and that they're given the funding for that, and then it's really anything above and beyond that, that it's tied back to some kind of rationale. We also had a session on cannabis. They didn't bring samples. But it sort of muddied the water yet again. But I did reach out to Dale and I said, I think we probably need to move forward with a conversation with the county board as to whether you want to limit licenses for the county, that decision probably needs to be in place before January 1, because starting soon after the first of the year in 2025, the Office of Cannabis Management will begin the process of actually acting upon applications. They're in a pre-approval stage right now for, and I don't remember the term, Rob, maybe you can help me, but they allowed pre-applications from individuals who had been impacted by, maybe a marijuana conviction, other sort of groups that had been disproportionately represented in other licensing areas. And so they will have a list of these pre-approved businesses by sometime in August or September, but really the licensing process won't begin until into 2025. So we're setting up a meeting between Dale and I, our county attorney, our sheriff, with the Owatonna attorney, the Owatonna police chief, the Owatonna city administrator, and their attorney to begin taking a look at, from a policy perspective, what is Owatonna planning to do, and making sure that Steele County and Owatonna are aligned. And then Dale and I think that with that information, we can reach out to our other cities to get a handle on where they want to go with it. And then since we're the zoning authority for the townships, I think the next step will be presenting at the all township meeting later this fall to try to get a sense of where things are going. Basically having I-35 run through our county, I do think that there's probably several locations that might be highly desirable by cannabis retailers, but there's 9 or 11, I need to double check, but there's at least 9 or 11 different licenses that people can apply for, whether it's a grower, a distributor, a manufacturer, or a retailer, or some kind of combination thereof. So we might see a number of different types of licenses coming through Steele County, even if you were to limit the number of retail licenses that the county is willing to issue. So I do see that as being an ongoing conversation for the board, as well as for our community partners, to kind of gain a sense of where we want to go. But whatever ordinance the board needs to adopt with regard to limiting the licenses, we're definitely going to want to get that before the board. Maybe as early as October, probably November. The public use ordinance, which would prohibit the use of cannabis on public property in Steele County, has been drafted, but we placed that on hold because that's where Sheriff Beal came in and said, I would want to have a conversation with OPD and our Owatonna counterparts to make sure we're on the same book and page, because they chose to go with an administrative citation as the penalty for public use of cannabis on public property. It is the recommendation of our county attorney that we make it a petty misdemeanor, so that there would be criminal repercussions so that his office can handle it. And so we want to make sure that we understand where that conflict might pose to be a challenge on some of the properties here in Owatonna. So I think this is an ever-evolving situation. The League of Minnesota Cities has draft language. The Association of Minnesota Counties is kind of piggybacking on that. The Office of Cannabis Management has now put out a number of resources. They have a designated legislative liaison with an FAQ and a site exclusively devoted to counties and cities and any concerns that they might have. So we have resources, but we don't have clear how-to steps to do pretty much anything, because so much of it is policy.
Mr. Chair, the one thing is the retail stores can be, how do I put this, held to
by population, correct?
We can limit the number of licenses based on the population of the cities and then the county as a whole. You can issue more licenses if the county chooses not to limit. So some counties are saying, you know what, if the market can support more than what our population numbers might bear out, maybe let the private market figure it out. I think the majority of counties that replied to a survey that was just administered here the other day is that they're probably looking at limiting. And in this case, I think Dale and I, we figured 3, maybe 4 at the 12,500 per license standard for Steele County,
Okay. For the county.
for the county, yes.
As a whole.
As a whole.
It seemed like you had 8 different groups you could be in though, I mean, it wasn't just one specific.
Yeah, and one of the licenses allows for vertical integration that would allow you to grow it, process it, and sell it. But it's for maybe like a micro version of a cannabis grower. I don't know how realistic that is, because cannabis operations are gonna be horribly expensive because of the power demands and the water demands. So I think if you're gonna be on the manufacturing or the growing side of it, you probably wanna be a grower. But they're limiting the growers' licenses to just businesses within the state of Minnesota, so that growers in Wisconsin or Iowa cannot be bringing their product into Minnesota. The processing and distribution, I believe, also has to be Minnesota-based, so it'll be interesting to see where they choose to locate. And we're not gonna have a real good sense of that until people start applying for these different licenses.
So we'll be waiting for more information on that before we make our decisions.
Absolutely, and we'll try to get as much local input on these matters from our local cities and that sort of thing as we can.
Okay.
Have you been in contact with the city attorney at all?
No, I haven't talked to Mark about their ordinance, briefly search on it, because the Fair Board actually asked about it. Obviously, that's more of a pressing issue. So it is a violation of city ordinance, which to use cannabis products at the fair or in a public place, such as smoking. However, it's not a crime, it is a offense which follows the city's kind of internal offense.
So what is the offense in essence then?
Well, like a fine, but it doesn't go to the courts. So they have a process in place that you can challenge it. It's like going in court, but I think at the end of the day, it could be just like a parking ticket. Sometimes you can't reach my office if someone challenges it. Do that. But it can get to me. So I just want to explore that at this meeting with the city on what the best approach is, as we are still the city prosecutor as well. So we'll have that conversation.
Okay, thank you.
And then the last thing is, I did talk with some of my colleagues with regard to the Fall AMC Policy Committee, which is held in September. And I would strongly encourage to attend, since not all 5 of you are able to attend that meeting. So the 2 that are going, I'll be working with you to determine which of the 5 committee meetings you want me to sit in on, and then I'll need some guidance in terms of kind of the board's preferences to voting on any matters that come before that particular policy committee.
Okay, thank you, Renee. Mr. Namey, report, please.
Okay, on the 10th, I have Public Safety Board meeting. Also on the 10th, we had the assessor interviews. On the 15th, we had an interview as far as the review of the county administrator. On the 15th, we also had a historic center board meeting. On the 16th, we had the 10th anniversary of the Steele County, Waseca County Drug Court. It was in Waseca. It was a whole day affair. It was kind of fun, though, to be perfectly honest. On the 17th, we had drug court. On the 18th, we had the Steele Water and Soil Water Conservation. On the 22nd, we had South Central Human Relations Center meeting, and we had a work session before this one.
Thank you. I'd like to report that on the 10th, I had joint powers with Rice and Steele County 911. The 11th was a Public Works meeting. The 18th was Soil and Water Conservation District meeting. The 22nd was Human Resource Center. And that brings me to today. Our next meeting notices are Property and Maintenance Committee, August 1st, 8 a.m. in the boardroom. Internal Central Services, Wednesday, August 7th, 8 a.m. in the boardroom. Public Works Committee has been canceled. The county board work session will be next August 13th at 3 o'clock. The next meeting will be at 4 o'clock after that on August 13th. That will conclude our meeting tonight. And I would move to adjourn. Steve? Second by Krieger. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.